Well, first of all, there's something called secondary hypertension, which really comes from something else. So let's say, for example, you are on kidney dialysis, you have a kidney problem, kidney damage. That alone can cause hypertension, okay? But there's another type of hypertension called primary hypertension or essential hypertension or idiopathic hypertension. All these are the same thing, and what this means is it has an unknown cause, okay? Idiopathic means we don't know what caused it, and there's no cure. Okay, but there's a treatment, right? Medication.
As you were battling with the high blood pressure damage, I took the courtesy to research on how you can get even the slightest of all chances to lower your blood pressure. And I'm proud to say it was worth the effort because, while digging through the internet, I discovered a crucial link between high blood pressure and insulin resistance. And guess what? Dr. Berg, a renowned ketogenic expert with over 3 decades of experience, explains this connection in detail in one of his videos. So that's good for us.
Well, let's take a look. If you research insulin resistance, you're going to find it has a side effect, okay? One of the side effects of insulin resistance, which by the way is high insulin, is high blood pressure. In other words, high blood pressure is being caused by insulin resistance, too much insulin. And if you look at metabolic syndrome, all these other diseases, in addition to hypertension and high cholesterol and high blood sugar and belly fat, these are all symptoms of insulin resistance. So it's very confusing when you try to do research because it'll say insulin resistance is an associated factor, it might be a risk factor. No, it's the cause of these other things right here. Now, let's take a look at what high insulin or insulin resistance will do. It makes your arteries stiff. Now, having stiff arteries and hardening arteries, you think that might increase your blood pressure a little bit? It does. It causes sodium retention. Yeah, sodium retention, okay? So, and it also causes low potassium. Sodium and potassium work together. When you have high sodium, you're gonna have low potassium. Potassium deficiencies will also cause hypertension, but that could be coming from the insulin resistance. So I don't think people are salt sensitive. I think they're potassium deficient because they don't consume enough vegetable. Your body needs 4,700 milligrams every single day. Yeah, to get that potassium, you would have to have between 7 and 10 cups of vegetable or salad every single day. You might not be doing that, okay? And that could be part of the problem, but mainly it's the insulin resistance, which will then block the absorption of potassium and then exaggerate the higher levels of sodium and create the problem. So what's been the missing link is this cause-effect relationship and the confusion that is out there on this topic.
And again, Dr. Berg highlighted that potassium deficiency is behind a majority of blood pressure issues. Without potassium, maintaining proper heart function is almost impossible. Dr. Berg extensively discusses his point of view and how to increase potassium levels.
The point is that when you have any type of blood pressure issue, it puts more stress on the heart. There's a lot of research in the relationship between a potassium deficiency. Personally, I think a potassium deficiency is behind a good majority of this essential hypertension. Why do I say that? Well, number one, most people are deficient in potassium. Why are they deficient? Because it's a bit hard to get potassium since the requirements are so high. Out of all the nutrients, potassium is the largest amount of nutrient that we need. We need 4,700 milligrams, and an average person does not get that much. And the other interesting thing about medicine is that the whole focus is to reduce sodium for hypertension, right? But what about enhancing potassium? They don't really talk about that. What does lowering sodium do? Well, it indirectly increases potassium. We need about half the amount of sodium to potassium. And I think these ratios are more important than the amounts. Many people are very heavy on the sodium, very low on the potassium, to the point where they're like 3 times as much sodium to potassium. But what does potassium actually do to your blood vessels in your heart? Number one, it directly controls the tone of the vascular system, which is the neurotransmitter for the autonomic nervous system, which is directly connected to a high blood pressure situation, because when you're running up a hill, you have adrenaline that kicks in to raise the blood pressure. Well, potassium lowers adrenaline. Potassium helps support the layer of the inside of the artery called the endothelial layer. And potassium also helps improve insulin resistance. It makes insulin more sensitive. And what's wild is that when you go buy a potassium supplement, it usually comes like no more than 99 milligrams per tablet. How many tablets would you have to take to achieve 4,700? Now, there are electrolyte powders that have more than that. The other consideration that people have about potassium is that, oh, potassium is bad for the kidneys. That is completely false. Potassium is very, very healthy to the kidneys. It's protective of the kidney. When you have advanced kidney disease, like a stage 4, stage 5, that's when potassium can be dangerous. Now, this next thing I'm going to tell you is even more interesting, because if you look at the top medications for blood pressure, they all retain potassium. Interesting. Could it be that some of the positive effects of these blood pressure lowering medications could be because of the potassium effect? Now, where do we get our potassium from? Well, you can get it from salads, but you'd have to consume at least 7 to 10 cups to make a dent into this potassium requirement. And the average person only consumes like a cup and a half. And also these leafy greens contain magnesium too. So the combination of both potassium and magnesium will greatly help the blood pressure. There's also data that in the prehistoric Paleolithic times, there's estimations that we consumed like 11,000 to 15,000 milligrams of potassium. Now, there's no way to know this for sure. It's just a good guess. But if you think about what we used to eat way back in the day, we pretty much ate whatever we could find. If we could catch an animal, we would eat it. If we couldn't catch an animal, I'm sure that we would eat vegetation or anything laying on the ground like an acorn or anything. But when we consume refined foods, especially refined sugar, we lose potassium. When we increase adrenaline or cortisol, we lose potassium. So I have a challenge for you. I would recommend that you start to beef up your potassium consumption through salad. Just try it for 1 week and see what happens to your blood pressure. If you can't seem to manage that much salad, then find a good electrolyte powder high in potassium.
Just to be fair enough, I know some of you prefer natural remedy to your diseases. And that's totally fine with me, because there are doctors out there preaching about it, and I can't say less of its significance. So here I'll also put up a video of a chiropractic expert named Dr. Adam, where we will all learn how to treat high blood pressure through a breathing exercise. So here we go.
These breathing exercises that I'm about to show you have been found to lower the systolic number by 20 points and the diastolic number by 10 points, which is just amazing. So you do these exercises once or twice a day, or do them as often as you feel necessary. There's a side benefit to this as well, besides just lowering your blood pressure, that it can help you with anxiety, it helps you with stress. I always tell people that it's like hitting Control-Alternate-Delete on your computer, that it just resets things. And what you'll find is that if you're really stressed out or nervous about something, that you do the deep breathing exercises for about 5 minutes, and it just seems that your whole body has been reset for the day. That is until something bad happens again, which, you know, life is life. Let's get into exactly how to do this. So what you do is you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. When you breathe in through your nose, you want to get a maximum deep breath. So it's not shallow breathing. So you inhale, and then when you let the air out, imagine the air is just coming out naturally, like it's exiting a balloon. Now again, we can complicate this if we want. We can say that you have to exhale twice as long as you can inhale. Everybody's different, so you find the one that works best for you, but this seems to be the most natural way to do it. And what I've noticed, let me just set it here. What I've noticed is that when you give people too many rules about breathing, it doesn't seem to work. But when you give people the natural way that their body wants to breathe, then it seems to work the best. So inhale through the nose as deeply as you can, let your belly expand, let your chest expand, and then exhale at the natural rate you want to exhale. But again, the way to think about it is imagine air coming out of a balloon.